Welcome to Final Fantasy XI Math. Do you want to increase your average Limbus run by 800 units per run and nearly double your matter drop rates? Today I'm going to discuss Limbus Chests and optimizing your matter in units. Square Enix just confirmed a theory I was close to announcing anyways. And with optimal chest opening, you can achieve up to a 40% rate of 5k chests. And those 5k chests can have up to a 100% rate of matter drops. If you just want the TLDR, just open each wing's chest in a specific order and profit. In my last Limbus video, I suggested that I thought it mattered which chest you opened for getting 5k chests. Since then, I've collected a lot of data, tested various theories, and now Square Enix has announced that one of the chests for each character is indeed a 5k chest, and furthermore that 5k chest can have up to a 100% matter drop rate. So I'm not crazy. I can go ahead with that confirmation and tell you a lot about how it works and what questions I still have. So first, I should explain how I was figuring this out. Well, as I described in my last Limbus video, it all started when I accidentally missed a floor and ended up opening a different chest than I always did, and suddenly getting a 5k chest, which I hadn't seen since the first week. I then started opening different chests, finding lots of 5k chests. Eventually, I started systematically opening them in order and just continued to have very common 5k chests. And like, great, good for me, I'm getting 5k chests. How do I take that and build out a model and prove how it works? Well, we start with the understanding that any model has to explain why we only see 3k chests if we keep opening the same chest long enough. Then I need data from opening lots of different chests to build out and test various theories. I also should look for anything that stands out in the data to inform my models. This took several weeks, especially because an unexpected Windows update caused me to lose my first 2 weeks of data. Even now, while I have fairly convincing evidence, I would have preferred to wait about another month, just because if you're just shooting in the dark with no reason to even expect this to be anything other than random in the first place, other than that the data doesn't seem to quite be matching that, how do I know there isn't some other model entirely that I'm not considering? I wanted more data matching my model, giving me confidence. Well, I look at the data and I sort it by how many chests it took to find a 5k after each 5k. Remember, I'm opening them in order, so I never repeat a chest until I've opened all 3 of the other chests first. The first thing I notice when I sort in this way is it never took more than 4 chests to find a 5k on either character. So if you open all 4 chests, you will find a 5k in one of them. Furthermore, because it did take 4 chests sometimes, that meant it can repeat the chest that was just a 5k, and that there has to be at least 3 chests that can at least sometimes be 3k chests, or I would always have found a 5k before the 4th chest. Then I start looking at the distribution between the number of chests it took to find a 5k. There are, of course, many potential models here, but they would have different distributions. If it is 100% chance at a 5k chest, which seems like the simplest and most likely model and is now pretty much confirmed, then I would expect an even distribution, because each chest should be equally likely after it moves. So what are my results so far? Well, 5 times it took 1 chest to find a 5k. In other words, I had back-to-back 5ks. 7 times it took 2 chests to find a 5k. 6 times it took 3 chests. And 5 times it took all 4, which meant that the 5k I found was the same chest that was my last 5k. Now, if I only had experimental results to work off of, I would want more data here before announcing anything. But because Square Enix has confirmed it is one 5k chest, I think I can look at this and say, this pretty much goes along with the idea that it's probably just a flat 1/4 chance for each of these options, which is what I would expect. Now, I will continue to collect data and let you know if it is actually weighted in some way, which would be unexpected, but always a possibility to consider. So what about matter drops? Well, I noticed a significant increase in matter drops on 5k chests. Of course, I didn't know why the matters and 5Ks were associated. I didn't know if I was actually getting higher matter drop rates overall compared to others, or if they were just coinciding for some reason. And it was hard to use data on the forums because it's all different servers with different drop rates. Heck, even my own drop rates varied by week and then later by month. This led me to do something potentially unethical. I joined others who were doing Tendermost runs, and I did not tell them about my unproven theories on 5K chess, so I could get more data points on matter drop rates from others. Now, I could have used my own runs for this, of course, but I didn't want to have a lower drop rate myself, of course. But, hey, it was an unproven theory. I didn't know for sure that I was hurting their drop rates. Of course, after seeing the results, I'm pretty confident I was. Sorry, guys. Yeah, that's probably not good. Now, Square Enix said 5K chess can actually get up to a 100% drop rate, but on my small server, that was not what I found. So you probably have to be really good about defeating all the NMs to get it that high. My 5Ks went 18 for 24 on matter drops, or 75%, while my 3Ks went 9 of 34, or about a 26% drop rate. It'll take a lot more data to try and figure out this formula, but these results do have two nice round number explanations, just very apparent to me here. It could either be a plus 50% matter drop rate, or it could be tripling the drop rate. Those both match these numbers. Now, I'm a little less sure if you can get your 3K matter drop rate all the way to 50%, so that the plus 50 will get you to 100. So if I had to guess on nothing else, I would guess it triples the drop rate, as 33% sounds a lot more reasonable for your 3K chest drop rate. And it could also, of course, be something more complicated. There's a lot of variables here, and it's going to take a long time to get a more definitive answer. Oh, so why do I say opening in a set order is best? Couldn't you just open any chest you haven't opened yet since your last 5K? Yes, you could, but that's hard to keep track of, and with multiple characters, it gets extremely messy. If you do it in a specific order, you actually have the exact same result, because you'll still always be opening a chest that you haven't since your last 5K, because you're just going through them in order. And then you can keep all your characters in sync with each other, opening the same chests while still being efficient on all of them, regardless of where they are in their chest situation. So how many 5Ks should I expect to be opening? This is actually a somewhat interesting question, because your odds of a 5K varies depending on where you are in your cycle. Obviously, the first chest you open is a 1/4 chance of finding a 5K, but if you make it all the way to the fourth chest, 100% it's going to be a 5K. Trying to work out exactly how many 5Ks you should expect from the strategy in the long run can be a little bit tricky. The trick is, when you realize over a large enough set of data, you should expect to see each outcome needing 1, 2, 3, or 4 chests to find a 5K equally as often. So you can just add them up. You expect to tend towards finding 4 5Ks over 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10 chests on average. So you expect to get 5K 40% of the time following this strategy. And experimentally, I've gotten 5K chests 41.4% of the time so far. So if you haven't been rotating which wing you open, you've been missing out on a 40% chance at a 5K chest, which also has significantly higher matter drop rate, as high as 100%. And my guess is it's probably around tripling the drop rate. That 40% chance increases your units per run on average by 800. And if we just use the 25 and 75% drop rates I happen to have, then it increased my average drop rate from 25 to 45%. I can see now why so many were much more pessimistic about drops than I was. Well, I hope this helps some of you out, and you can all progress more in Limbus. They also added some interesting new Amon Trove items this month, and I expect a new refresh shield later this month. I may make a video about those soon, but I wanted to prioritize this since I was already very deep into exploring this. Have a good one, and I'll catch you next time.